and I was muted. I was just saying I was disappointed um, by a comment that Hythloday left me. I would think that by now he should accept that I'm engaging with him in the way that he's asked, as far as why I'm saying his system is circular, things like that, and but even more important, my how I'm defending that my system isn't circular. He is assuming the starting point is a third person perspective, so he thinks it's circular when I say the first person perspective is creating that concept of the third person perspective that you have. It's the principles A1 through N. And I would think he could accept and get that argument, instead of think that it's totally separate things. So evidently that didn't happen. We're going to watch this video together.
I must say, I'm really disappointed.
Oh, you too, huh?
Really disappointed in Pyro. I'm really disappointed in people. This is why I talk about giving up YouTube and really becoming, an ultimate hermit. Worse than in Mendham, because in Mendham interacts with people on YouTube. Really, I ought to turn my focus to mathematics and physics in my own little world, because it's getting to the stage where I'm only prepared to interact with people on a formal basis. And I mean mathematical, logical formal basis, on a technical basis. Implicit in my last video was a guess, a hope, that I said I'm talking technically, blah blah blah, and I'm hoping for technical responses. It's a technical criticism, so what's the technical reply? I'm given a 2.5. Hour video to suffer, wherein you do the Mendham interjectory style. I watch your video, I watch it again and take notes. I then seek, the key moment to, so I discuss my notes. I think it's blah blah blah, and then I go to the key section of where the disagreement is, and then we go over, both formally and informally, your argument. It takes me half an hour. And I conclude in the video that the sole purpose of it is one technical point. In that half an hour period, there was a 10-minute foreword about purposes. But I repeatedly said that the whole part that's in the title, and I said the whole purpose of this is one technical objection. The question is how many questions at issue did Pyro raise in that 2 hours, practically? Yeah, many. Right? Well, that's completely illogical. When I'm just asking to resolve one issue, yeah, you invoking, oh, my epistemology is better because of this, and it all comes the data streams. I'm saying the data stream, the epistemology, the data stream. You're saying this, you're saying that, you're saying this. No, I just got one little technical point to clear up with you. And you subject me to 2 hours, a complete hour of pissiness, yeah. Now I express forcibly, but I'm not losing my temper here. I'm annoyed inside, and so I can express that forcefully, but without losing the complete tone of the whole video being one of pissiness, right? But it was a pissy video, yeah. A
Right, I'm muted.
whingy,
That's why.
impatient. I mean, the strategy of video is an impatient one. Is that you can't be bothered to watch it first and think, what is the best? Have I understood it? Watch it again.
No,
Maybe
fuck
not.
that.
Maybe the
Fuck
best way
that
is.
bullshit. Fuck that noise. I watched many of the earlier videos this week. I took notes and did that. It didn't help. You're still trying to lecture me on what a circular argument is. Like, that's the problem.
to go through it all one by one and so on and so forth. But no, it's a lazy way of interaction, this conversational stuff.
Well, when you say we should be focusing on my point that takes a minute to describe, we should focus on that, but I'm going to make a 40-minute video and then I'm going to criticize your video for its length, then that's your problem.
Starting, you lose track of many thoughts and ideas.
No.
You contradict yourself in major ways. I think.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't contradict myself in any way. Your misunderstandings make you think it's a contradiction.
3 times, definitely 2 that are screaming out at me. Yeah?
We'll get to it, Mr. Focus.
And demonstrate that you can't.
Okay, well, I'm the
anticipation.
anticipation.
Cognizant of what the questions at issue are, or the question at issue is. You're not cognizant of what you're saying at one time, and then later on.
You know what, Hythloday, you're not in a position to tell me what I'm cognizant of. I answered for 100 times your issue about circularity. I referred to the issue of circularity 100 times. If you think that isn't what your video is about, mention that, because that's what it seemed to be about. And I mentioned it a bunch of times, none of which did you absorb, evidently. That doesn't mean I didn't do it. I did do it. You are blocking the information. You need to fix the data stream problems on your inputs.
Contradicting yourself at another time.
Well, say what it was. I hope you're going to get to that eventually.
I'm not sure whether I'll do what I'm inclined to do, and that is a thorough scrutiny of that second video.
Yeah, you're not sure if you're going to. Okay, whatever.
Wherein you're impatient.
Get to some careful scrutiny, would you?
And on the one hand, in the first video, saying, "Oh yeah, it's."
You're bitching at me about not having focus. We're 5 minutes in. Get to a point.
And then on the other hand, in the second video, you're saying. That you understand technical language, and I'm
yeah, I do. I have a fucking degree
within the premises, and then you
in
A1.
Yeah, I have a degree in proving that I understood the technical language. This isn't because I don't know the technical language. Doesn't mean I might not make a technical mistake, but then point that out and stop saying the problem is you don't even know there's these technical constraints. I know about them.
Through to AN conclusion. Well, no, not A1 through to AN. It questions just whether you do have a degree in philosophy or whether you did study.
Oh, okay. Well, definitely fuck you.
Logic for 4 hard years. When you don't demonstrate that degree of ability in training to keep your vocabulary, your language correct.
Oh, really? You don't have a degree in philosophy. You've not studied formal logic directly, just indirectly through mathematical logic. So maybe you don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. But could you get on to whatever it is you're talking about?
So, see you later. And there's so many instances of this. Yeah. 2 particularly egregious ones that I don't care to mention now.
Well, you just mentioned them.
The relatively quick nature I want this video to be, and
oh, well, that didn't work out, did it?
Your apology accounts for nothing about being pissy in the second video, particularly pissed off.
Okay, well then I won't worry about it.
It was multitude, that's the problem. It was the interjectory style and not focusing use word, the illa, and
yeah, you pissed me off because you were being a jerk, so
when you
deal with it.
Like you would just say, I did.
I put a link. Exactly hey, look, I talk over it. I put a link to your video. People that want to watch your video uninterrupted have a link.
Between what you tell me, what 1 minute you've told me, and later on in the end of the video, what you tell me later as my circularity.
Yeah, well, what I think is that you're not able to follow my argument, and when you see these contradictions, you don't understand. I hold contradictions in mind. That happens because it's like maybe it's this way, maybe it's that way. There could be determinism, maybe not. I don't prematurely try to feel like, well, you got to decide, pick a side. Go with what you know now. No, I don't have to do that on questions like that of eternal import. Fucking A.
So,
Yeah, I'm not going to
so right,
apologize for being pissy
stuff
now.
to your hand is to start here, right? So, I'll summarise one last time. I said that an argument looks like this. It has underpinning axioms,
Oh, for fuck's sake.
and then it has a premise 1, premise 2, and a conclusion. Okay? It can be longer in the premises. And if circularity, I demanded that you point and say, look, that use my language, that you found that the conclusion, not necessarily P1 per se, so Pn, yeah, is, yeah, you've never done that, you've still not done it, write it up for me, yeah?
I don't have to write it up for you because you know about logic, so I can talk about A sub n implying B sub n. I don't have to write shit up for you. You said my argument was circular. You show how it's circular. Where do I go from the conclusion of a third dimensional space back and justify A? I don't. The fact that we're having experiences justifies A. So you write up how you're the one that said my argument was circular. I said yours was more circular. Now I have to describe the circularity of yours. No, I don't. Mine is not circular, and I've described it in words. You need it drawn on a whiteboard. Uh, Tough shit.
The demand is, not implicit now, but explicit. If you want to say that I'm doing some circular reason, write it up for me. And
No, absolutely not. If you can't get how I said your reasoning is circular after repeating it 1,000 times, that's your problem.
I'll show you the error of your ways. Because, no doubt, these statements, these comments are all in.
Yeah, you can't get it. It's because you start with the first person, A, you get to your theory of materialism, B, then you ignore A and say, I can ignore A and derive A from B. That's the circularity. You could draw that. You can't draw that because it's bouncing off of you because you're not. I'm not going to. I'm not going to do what you tell me to do.
Subjective, and you're telling me about what I need to understand, and blah blah blah. No, there's only
Blah blah blah. How about you instead of blah blah blah, you actually say some of the things I'm telling you to understand
one question.
and why they're not important things or that you already understand them. You told me I need to understand a circular reasoning, and I told you here's what I think it is. I already understand it. So I did what I'm telling you to do. So now you do it.
That's being discussed. There's no what I need to understand. You might like me to understand your whole big fluffy philosophy, but I'm not interested in that. You said I'm circular.
Oh, you're not interested in that. Oh, well that sounds a bit condescending. You're not interested in. Oh, that's right, because you're just helping me. The way the system works for you in the non-condescending world is you're just helping me, right? So you're not interested in my philosophy, which, by the way, happens to have an adjective fluffy. You're not interested. You want to call it fluffy, but you're not interested. Well, my position is based in my philosophy. So the fact that you're not interested in my philosophy probably is going to impact your ability to understand it.
And I said, you can't say I'm circular unless you do this showing business. Show that my conclusion
No.
was in actual fact, one of my premises.
No, you're circular. I do not have to draw it on a piece of paper. And I told you how you're depending how you're trying to be circular by deriving the first person view from the third person when you derived the third person from the first person in the first place. And if you don't understand how the fact that you agree that you derive the third person perspective from first person facts, and then you're trying to derive the first person facts from your third person model, you don't see how that's circular. That's your problem.
You win your argument if you do that. I say you've not done it. And you've especially not shown it formally. And
Well, this is where the me not caring about winning the argument comes in so useful.
technically, in the way that I discuss. Right? Now then, a major theme of all the drivel that you've been touting
Okay, 10 minutes in, we're getting somewhere, I guess. Great.
is whether or not there's a logical inference whether you are in fact circular. Okay? No, I have not said you are circular. I said I'm thinking that there's something circular.
Okay, you're wrong. You did say that. That's how we started talking about circularity. However, even if we hadn't talked about it, one of the videos I showed, that middle video with the 5 levels of epistemology, I was arguing in general that the position that you have is circular. So, yeah, I'm on record calling your argument circular before I heard it from you. So, fine. However, in this conversation, you're the one that said my thing was circular. That's how this started.
Going on with the Descartes' thought experiment, perhaps, and I've not scrutinised it, but I'm inclined to think that if the circularity going on, it's with yourself, right? At times I talk about your circularity, right? But
Yeah, this is interjection style, but you just said you haven't gone through it, but you're inclined to think, and now you're going to say something, and you say it with the authority of the guy that only does formal, is considering only doing formal interaction. Okay, you're contradicting yourself.
if you watch the whole video and you see that I begin my conversation with qualifications, and then in the middle, perhaps, because it's too pedantic to continually qualify everything you say, I loosely might say your circularity, and then at the end, I then could summarize and say, but I'm not saying your
Well,
circularity.
whatever. You want a lot of passes for what you say, but then you're going to be all strict about what I say. I say, homie, don't play that.
Or I'm not saying you're um, condescending. Then any discussion and hard examination of me being in the literal sense, without remembering that I'm qualifying it, makes everything you said about this in this interjectory section nonsense.
Yeah, I don't follow that. I don't think that is nonsense. Um, as far as this side issue, which we're using, it's a sub issue, something, it's a feature of what we're really discussing about the nature of the conversation. To me, it's not that I don't say you're condescending, and it's not that I vouch for you that you're not condescending. It's that I think it's immaterial. It doesn't matter if you're condescending or not. It doesn't at all. It might matter within your life, with your friendships, but it doesn't matter in this conversation. You can be as condescending as you want. It doesn't. It won't affect my feelings. It might affect my feelings actually, and that I might get pissed off. But overall, that's fine. It's like if you work up a sweat playing a game of tennis and you're a professional tennis player. Yeah, it's a lot of work. You like doing that. So I don't mind if you're condescending. It's just if you are condescending, you deserve less benefit of the doubt from me.
Because you're presuming it to be literal at that time. Now, there is the
Yeah, why would I know when you're literal and not? That's not my responsibility to perfectly figure out when you're being literal or not. It just isn't.
this was in the plan of dealing with the comment in the second video. I say it could qualified, right? It could be taken as condescension. And your reply is, I won't quote it, but I'll paraphrase it. Your reply is, you're wrong. It is not condescension. Well, I can't be wrong. Because if
I don't think I said that. I don't think I said it can't be condescension. And I can only wonder where you're going with the you can't be wrong thing that you just said, um, that I'm interjecting in.
if anybody in the world thinks and has the capacity, so your reply is totally invalid. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I know you said it could be seen as condescending. I'm just going to spend 15 minutes talking about how, it seems a little condescending, to me, and it seems condescending, and I replied to that. I made a reply to you spending all those minutes on this issue of whether my exchange is condescending. And I thought being helpful, and by the way, not being interested in the other person's position, fluffy position, that could be seen as condescending. And then you got all defensive about me calling you condescending, and I'm pointing out, no, I'm defending this. This is still under the category of me defending myself against being condescending. But I don't remember at any point saying it's impossible that I'm condescending. I remember more me saying, I don't think I'm condescending. I'm not having condescending feelings. I admit my tone of voice can be taken as condescending if I go, hello, 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 like, this one that happened between you and me. That I admit that could be taken as condescending, and that could actually be condescending. But I don't experience it myself having condescending feelings. When I'm saying those things, I'm not thinking, I'm better than you, I'm better than you. I'm thinking, you're ignoring something I said that I think you should admit I said, and you should understand and absorb that I said it. That's the feeling I'm having.
At that point. And I had it in memory, approximately where it is. It's about 13 minutes in, but along with
Well, good,
several other
yeah.
egregious missing of details.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah? And it's this inattention to details, inattention to be able to fix your language. When I say a logical argument has axioms, premises, and conclusions, and I'm demonstrating a firm belief in an inclination to want to talk technically about the criticism.
Well, you can draw all the lines you want, but I think I have been talking very technically about this. And if you don't think so, I question your technical ability and whether you have a degree in logic.
When you just say, oh, an argument goes A1 to AN, conclusion, when you fail to pay attention to those details, I question your qualifications. I say, I have a degree in mathematics, a first-class degree, right? And I have a schedule of results showing all the classes I took.
So that's mathematics, first of all. I'm curious now why, if I characterize, look, the film strip is a lot of facts. You can, in logic, call that fact A, the case A. Or you could break it down into all the more individual, orthogonal, separate looking facts, or overlapping facts, I guess, if you want, and you will on accident anyway. So the fact that it's so detailed, I called it A1 through AN, is actually implying conclusions, B through 1 through BN. And I'm getting the idea you don't understand that language. And that does not make me feel self-conscious about my understanding of logic, because all arguments, you could have 1,000 steps in your proof, and it can be rewritten as A implies B.
If we listen to you
I
spend.
mean, that's really the point of a 1,000-line proof, is so that after you do the proof that A does imply B, that you can just use the short version.
4 years studying logic, 4 years of logic. If we listen to you did 4 years of physics also, yeah, as well as 4 years of.
No, that's not true. I did 3 years of physics and math, because that last year you kind of have to focus on your, your actual final degree. But I did math and physics at the same rate that math and physics majors do, right? I was up to speed. After I did my, well, it was 2.5 years of physics and 3 years of math. After I did my 3 years of math, if I'd done another year of math, I could have got a math degree. But I didn't do that. So I've not said otherwise. And that's my academic experience with math and physics and logic or philosophy, which are the three primary things that I focused on in college. And because they are considered breadth between them, they covered each other's breadth requirements.
Philosophy. Huh? I put it that if you do in fact have a degree, it's essentially a hod.
So here's the thing that bothers me about this kind of stuff. I feel that I have worked hard to earn that I'm honest. I'm not just making shit up, and I don't throw it out there right away or anything, or try to use it as a point. But you're going to say, if I actually have a degree. So there's a question in your mind of if I'm just making this stuff up, just fabricating that I have a degree. Um, that am I? Is there a way I'm not supposed to think that makes you an asshole? Like I just said that, and now you're going if, and so I'm supposed to prove that. You want me to put my degree up here when it's pretty much immaterial, right? I mean, I don't argue from the fact I had a degree. That comes up in this conversation because you are going on and on and on about circularity, which is the most simplest thing to understand. And since I thought you knew I had a philosophy degree, I thought you might understand I had at least an undergraduate understanding of circularity and realize that probably that's not the problem we're having. If we're having a problem, it's that I have a argument that may be circular, but even though I understand circularity, something is making it so that I don't think circularity applies in this situation because of XYZ. And here's my reasons, XYZ. And then you could go, oh, XYZ, it is or isn't circular. But instead, you're going, you must just not know what circular means. So, but it's on the table whether it's not really on the table if I have the degree or not, because that's immaterial. What's on the table is if I'm the kind of person that would pretend for 5 or 6 years or whenever I first mentioned this, because I thought it was pertinent to some of the arguments. You could go look up the videos. Um, am I the kind of person that would just fabricate something like that about my YouTube channel for some reason? And I find that astounding. I mean, does the way that I do this, it looks like, because I understand self promotion as a practice good, well enough. I'm not great at it, but, I know how to get jobs and stuff well enough. I know how it works that I would try harder, is what I'm trying to say, if that was the point of this channel. If I would say I had a philosophy degree as as a promotion of this channel and it'd be a fabrication, or are you saying that I'm just hallucinating? I think I had a degree, but really, I had a hallucination and I'm that mentally ill that I think I have a degree I don't have, and I'm condescending. All of this, and I'm condescending. Or the problem is that I'm interjecting on this video. I'm interjecting on this video, so the fact that you're saying maybe I'm just fabricating that, or maybe I have a hallucinatory experience of studying philosophy. All what? So that maybe you're right that I don't understand what you're talking about when you're claiming I'm circular. I do understand. And I understand also why you are having the illusion that I'm circular, because you falsely believe yourself to have started in the third person perspective, even though out loud in words you admit that no, you started with these first person facts and you collected a model of the third person world that you believe in, the mechanical world, this third person world, your model of that you have, you believe that, and you admit you got that from the primary data. But you have some sort of hand wavy thing, fluffy kind of a thing, where you can ignore that you made logical deductions from this data. You'll ignore that and say, no, you're starting here. I'm resetting. I've datumed my logical set point. This is my new origin. Since you're doing that, when you see me going the other way, you think I've gone from the third person argument to just an epiphenomenous secondary phenomena, this, and then I'm arguing for the real thing based on the fake thing. And you're wrong. That's the real thing. Nobody can deny that that's the real thing. You haven't denied it, but you think there's some way around, a backdoor around it. And that's not logical. There is no backdoor way. You've tried to make a backdoor way by saying, oh, we use self-evident premises. That's where we start. That's the back door. Thinking that you get to say, well, I'm just going to start with obvious self proving things. And none of them are empirical. We're talking about logical, obvious things. All the a priori logical things I'm going to start with. That's not how we're living. We actually start in a more scientific, empirical frame of mind. And we have actual things that are true because the statement is, I had this image. And you could say, well, that was an illusion. The sun didn't rise, the earth was spinning. I had this image. Heavy object fell on my foot. Gravity. Okay, that's happened more than once. Why do sometimes when I let go of things over my foot, do they fall on my foot and they hurt my foot? If I do that in the future, will it also hurt my foot? They start from this, not from these fantasy. You want to talk about wavy hands and fluffy. That's this system you've had. A bunch of Jehovah God worshiping superstitious people had a view about logic that you still believe. That stuff could come from nothing, and how could that happen? And oh, and God's thoughts are where it's coming from, God's set of axioms, and so we've got them. Thank you, God. Oh, but I don't believe in God anymore. But you do believe in that system of, hey, self-proving, self-evident. You don't got to prove it. And what's really going on is logic starts. This is the A. All logic begins with this. Every logical thing has to begin with evidence from the film strip. Every single one. There's no way to deny it. You haven't denied it. Can't be denied successfully. People can be in denial, but they can't successfully actually deny that this is where all the evidence comes from. All of the input data. Not a priori stuff, no. Not analytic. From synthetic fucking truths. And then the analytic stuff, so called, is what we do to transfer, boom, take that set of data and make another set of data. That's the analytic truth. In a position you might notice is what we would normally call secondary. Well, I'm glad I'm mad now. I unapologize for getting testy because you're being annoying. I still like you though, but that's beside the point because screw you as well. Seriously, all these years you are going, if I even, yeah, you're probably going to go on and say, no, I'm not saying he doesn't have. I'm just saying maybe he doesn't have. Whatever. Yeah, I think the interjectory style actually, I mix it up. Sometimes I take notes on a video that I've watched or watched multiple times. I've watched videos multiple times in general, though, well, whatever. Um, and sometimes I do the interjectory. I have a balance because sometimes things come out. You say that kind of shit and you're going to go, oh, but I'm not saying that. We'll see when I come back if you don't just go, oh, I'm not actually saying what I just said. Like Trump's like, I didn't say that. I just repeated what somebody else said. It wasn't me saying it out of my words. It's their words out of my mouth, and that's not me. Yeah, whatever. So annoying. And by the way, I am disappointed as well. Right? That was I'm disappointed was my first two words to you from your comment. I hadn't seen your video yet. I'm disappointed that you don't understand that I have made the analytic defense about why it's not circular to start from the film strip. And I'm not saying this film strip happens because of any subsequent argument. I'm saying it happens by default at the beginning. This is the axiom that it's happening. That's it. Luckily, it's a very rich axiom because it's got all this fucking information in it. Okay, I'll be back in a second.